Hello everyone! Today I'm going to share with you how I make my baked chicken. I make chicken many different ways. My dad said his mother could make a chicken 100 different ways. So I'm going to share with you how to make this really great baked chicken, and I'm also going to share with you how to make homemade gravy. Are you ready? Let's get started. So these are the ingredients that I'm going to be using, and I'll also have a list of ingredients in the description box below for your reference, as well as the recipe on how to make the gravy and the other things that I'm going to be making today. This is a traditional baked chicken dinner that you can change up your sides to kind of meet your needs or what you happen to have on hand in your pantry. For my chicken, I'm going to be using some fresh veggies. I have here 3 celery ribs, and I'm going to cut them in some chunky pieces about a couple of inches long, about 1.5 to 2 inches. And I rinsed and dried my celery as well as my carrots. The carrots I'm using baby carrots. You can also use regular whole carrots. And if you're going to be using just the regular long carrots or just the regular carrots, you want to use 2 of those, 2 medium-sized carrots, peeled and then also chopped. Now with the baby carrots, I used about 1/2 of the bag. So that was about 1.5 to 2 cups of the baby carrots. Now my onion, I'm using a yellow onion, and I'm going to use about 1/3 of this yellow onion. I sliced my onion in about 1 inch to about 2.5 inches in size, and then I'm also going to separate out my onion pieces. And this is what my onion pieces look like once I separate them out, about this size, about like that. Now I have my casserole dish. This is an 11 by 13 casserole dish. And I've also buttered with some soft butter. I went around and I buttered the sides and the bottom of my casserole dish. Now if you don't have an 11 by 13 casserole dish, a roasting pan also works really nice. A lot of times my mom would use a roasting pan when she made baked chicken, and so a roasting pan will work nice if you don't have a casserole dish about this size. Now I put down the onion, and now I'm going to put down the carrots and the celery. And the carrots and the celery and the onion are going to kind of act like a rack or a bracket for our chicken when we bake it, and so it's going to have all those nice flavors and juices from the baked chicken. The chicken is going to absorb all that nice flavor, and so I put down about 1/2 of the celery and the carrots. And so when I season the chicken, I'm going to season the chicken right on top of the carrots and the celery and the onion right in the dish. Now when I start off the chicken, I'm going to start it skin side down. For my seasoning, I'm going to season it first, skin side down into the pan. And I'm using thighs. Thighs work really good. So I'm using thighs. You can also use chicken legs. If you want to make this recipe with chicken wings, you could do baked chicken wings, baked chicken legs, or a combination. It just kind of depends. And so I like to really stuff and put that chicken in there, make sure all my chicken fits. Now for my seasoning, I'm going to be using this nature seasoning. Now you can use the seasoning I'm using, or you can use whatever seasoning that you happen to have in your pantry. And this nature seasoning is a combination of salt, pepper, onion powder and garlic powder, and also there's a little parsley in here. And so I do a nice sheen and I sprinkle all on top, and then I'm going to follow that up with a little bit of this Goya Adobo seasoning that also has pepper in it, and it's the one that's with the red top. In the store they have different ones. This is the one with the red top. I also put a nice sheen. I like the combination of these 2 seasonings. They taste really good together. Then I'm going to go ahead and flip my chicken over to the skin side up. Now while I'm doing this, I have my oven. I turn my oven on, and my oven is preheating on 400 degrees. And so I have the oven preheating on 400 degrees. So I'm turning the chicken over, and I'm going to continue to season the other side. Now if you are new to my channel, I want to welcome you in. And if you're a returner, I want to thank you for coming back. On my channel, I love to share what I cook and bake for my family in my kitchen. I love making cakes from scratch, quick bread recipes, baking bread, doctoring up a cake recipe. That's something that my mother taught me how to do, making homemade cheesecakes and making traditional family meals. So if you enjoy that type of content, I hope you consider subscribing. So once I have my seasoning on the other side, I'm going to put the rest of my carrots and celery on top. And I like to nestle the carrots and the celery in between the chicken and also around the edge of the casserole dish. Once I have my veggies situated, I'm going to put on some parsley. This is dried parsley flakes. I'm going to sprinkle them all on top. Now, if you have fresh parsley, you can also chop a couple of tablespoons of fresh parsley and sprinkle that on top if you like. Anywhere from 1 tablespoon up to about 2 tablespoons, depending, on your liking. But I'm going to sprinkle some dried parsley flakes all over on top. And if you don't have any, it's optional. You can always leave it out. Now, I'm going to wash up my hands really good. And then I'm going to put my chicken in the oven to bake. Now, for other family dinner recipes, in my description box below, I'll put a link to my playlist on my family dinners. I have over 100 different family dinners to make and try, and so I'll put that in the description box for your reference. Now our chicken is looking good. Time to put some foil onto our chicken. So I'm going to put some foil nice and snug on my chicken, and for the first hour I'm going to bake it with the foil on at 400 degrees. I'm not going to flip it. I'm just going to let it go ahead and bake with the foil on at 400 degrees. After an hour, I'm going to take it out of the oven, take the foil off, and let it bake for another 30 minutes, anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, so that way the chicken can become nice and brown. And while the chicken has been cooking, and my chicken right now has been cooking for almost an hour. So when I get close to that hour mark is when I start on my potatoes. So for my potatoes, I'm gonna slice my potatoes about this size because we're going to be mashing our potatoes and making mashed potatoes to go with the gravy. I'm using russet potatoes, and I'm using about 5 to 6 russet potatoes that I've sliced and peeled and cut into my pot. I'm also going to put in my pot some salt to season also the potatoes as they cook, because that'll keep me from having to put too much salt later on after the potatoes are done. So now the potatoes are on. I just put my potatoes on, then I took the chicken out of the oven, and now we're going to take the foil off. The chicken is looking good. It's just about done, but we want to have it be nice and brown and just, finish cooking really well. So I'm going to put the chicken back in the oven, again at the regular 400 degrees that it's been cooking, and give it another anywhere from about 20 minutes to about 30 minutes. And this is dinner for 5 people, so you can always decrease if you're going to be cooking for less, or increase if you're going to be cooking for more. My potatoes are looking good. They are nice and tender. They've been boiling for a while, and so I'm going to drain the potatoes. And then this is some corn. I also have some corn that I'm making to go along with dinner. So I'm going to drain the potatoes, and then we're going to mash them. Now before mashing my potatoes, I'm going to put in some butter, and this is a half a stick of butter. I haven't put any additional seasoning since draining the potatoes. I'm just mashing them in with the butter. When it comes to mashing the potatoes, especially russet potatoes, you do want to be mindful how much you mix the potatoes, especially after you add in your liquid, because russet potatoes and Idaho potatoes, they can become really kind of like pasty. They can become really pasty and gummy. And so to keep that from happening, you want to be mindful how much you're smashing them. I also prefer to use a potato smasher. It also reminds me of my mom. My mom always used a potato masher in the kitchen. But just be mindful, if you use a hand mixer or a stand mixer to whip your potatoes, if you mix them too much, especially after adding in your liquid, they can tend to become a little bit gummy. Now for my potatoes, I'm going to be using half and half. You can also use chicken broth to make your mashed potatoes if you want to make them a little bit lighter. You can use whole milk, 2% milk. I've also used canned milk before, not sweetened condensed milk, but evaporated milk. Those also make them nice and creamy. But most of the time, I like to use the half and half. I put in, with this 6 potatoes, I usually put in about 3/4 of a cup to about 1 full cup. Then I go ahead and mash them some more, kind of see how they're doing, and then I can kind of judge if I need to put a little bit more liquid. I'm going to put just a little bit more, about 1/4 of a cup. So total I've put in about a cup to about 1 1/4 cups. of half and half. And you can also use heavy cream to also make your mashed potatoes. You can use heavy cream as well. So there's different ways that you can definitely make your mashed potatoes. And then some people, you can also just use butter if you just want to use just the potatoes and butter and mash them well. So I'm going to give them a taste them for seasoning. They need just a little bit more salt and pepper. I'm going to put some pepper in here. That's optional, but I like to put in just a little bit of pepper. Helps to balance out the salt and just gives the potatoes a great flavor. And you can just go ahead and season them up to your liking. I'm going to mix in my seasoning so that way it's not just sitting right on top. Our chicken has been baking for almost 30 more minutes, so it should be just about done. I'm going to put a top on my mashed potatoes. Let's check on our chicken and see how it's doing. Our chicken is looking good. It is out of the oven. Oh my gosh, it is smelling so good. It is getting close to dinner time. I'm going to set the chicken aside and I'm going to work on our gravy. Now for my gravy, I'm using unsalted butter, and I have 4 tablespoons of butter, which is the same as 1/4 cup of butter, which is also the equivalent of a half a stick of butter. So 4 tablespoons, 1/4 cup, half a stick, it's all the same measurement. And so to that, I'm putting in 1/4 cup of flour. So you want to have equal parts flour and butter. So I let my butter melt, and that was the 1/4 cup. Let my butter melt. Once my butter was melted, I put in 1/4 cup of regular all-purpose flour. I have my pan is on a medium to medium high heat right there. You don't want to rush your gravy. Now my mother has taught me how to cook and bake many things. I've learned from her, my aunties, and they were excellent cooks and bakers. Something that my father taught me was how to make gravy. He schooled me on gravy, and he learned how to make gravy from his mother. And so I think it's from them being from the South. My folks are from Alabama, so probably that. But with your gravy, you want to mix around your butter and your flour just like you see me doing here, and you're going to continue to mix it until it becomes this nice peanut butter color. So you want to continue to mix it, let it become a nice peanut butter color. Now when you stop mixing it with your spoon, we're going to be using our spoon at first. When you're mixing with your spoon, give it a moment because you want it to start to get that nice deep pretty tan color underneath. So you want to stop mixing it for a minute, let it kind of cook a bit, and then go ahead and continue to mix it. One thing is when you're making your gravy, you do not want to walk away from it because it'll go from right to wrong really quickly. And this is what you're looking for. You see how it's this beautiful color, and this is called a roux. So we're making a nice roux. And so with this roux, you're looking for that beautiful peanut butter color. So keeping your flame at that nice medium, no more than a medium high heat, allows you to really monitor your gravy and it won't get away from you, it won't burn on you. So keep mixing with the back of your spoon. I like using a wooden spoon, and you see how as we're mixing, our roux is developing in color, going from a white to a yellow cream color to a tan color to more of that peanut butter color. And so it'll go through those different phases. Also around the edge of your pan, you want to make sure that you also go around the edge of your pan just like that, because sometimes the flour can gather around the edge, so be sure to get the edge. Now I switch over from my spoon to my whisk. I start to pour in my liquid. So as I'm pouring the liquid, I continue to whisk. Don't stop whisking. You want to continue to whisk, because if you stop whisking when you're pouring in your liquid, you're going to end up with lumpy gravy. So continue to mix as you pour. So I pour in, I keep mixing, keep your whisk, keep going. And you're going to have a little lumps here and there, but what you're doing is you're working them out, so you don't want to stop that whisking process, because then also your gravy will seize up on you, and you don't want that. When I pour in my liquid, I pour it in a little bit at a time. So I pour in about 1/3 of the liquid, and then I keep whisking. I pour in my second third, I keep whisking, and then I pour in my final third. The total time you want to keep whisking, making sure you're going around the edges of the pan or the pot that you're using, and just continue to stir. And you're just going to continue to stir and mix until you don't feel any areas of flour anymore, any areas of flour. So you just keep going all around the edge just like that, and also in the center really well. I also keep my flame on that nice medium, no more than a medium high heat. I'm checking on my muffins. I made some corn muffins to go with dinner. Checking on those. Those look good. Our gravy is looking good. I'm going to switch over from my wire whisk and I'm going to switch back over to my wooden spoon just to kind of finish off the gravy. It is looking good. It has thickened up nicely. Once my gravy comes to a simmer, I usually let it simmer for about anywhere from 5 minutes up to about 10 minutes. While our gravy is looking good, my corn muffins are out of the oven. I used that Jif corn muffin mix, that Jiffy. They came out looking so nice. Make sure that when you make them, you want to have your egg at room temperature. That's the secret. And so this is our dinner tonight. We have our muffins, our baked chicken, our mashed potatoes, our gravy, our vegetables. I'm going to serve us up a plate. This is our plate tonight for dinner. My family has started to serve themselves up a plate. I'm going to go ahead and give y'all the first bite. We have our wonderful baked chicken. It looks so good. It looks so nice and moist. And I just love making the chicken thighs when I do my baked chicken. I love how it bakes up. Well, I'm going to give y'all the first bite. Are you ready for your bite? Go ahead and take your bite. Now I'm going to take my bite and see how we did. Oh my goodness. I love baked chicken. Baked chicken is so good. It's just that comfort food right there. So I have some of our veggies, some mashed potatoes with our gravy. Go ahead and take a bite of that. I'm going to see how we did with that. Y'all, this comes out. This is just the classic. To me, it's just that classic home cooking meal of baked chicken, mashed potatoes, gravy. Our muffin has come out nice and tender and moist. We have our corn. Well, I hope you give this recipe a try. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, don't forget to show it some love. Give it a thumbs up and click share. Share this video with a friend or family. And don't forget to click that notification bell so you can come back and visit me again in my kitchen. And remember, it's always good when Dyvonne is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.